Great. Thank you so much for being here at our Emerging Leaders Initiative Story Studio. My name is Ariane Campbell, and I work with the MasterCard Foundation. And we have partnered with the Skoll Foundation since 2013 on the Emerging Leaders Initiative. So every year, we bring about a dozen of the next generation of social entrepreneurs to the forum, and they undergo a week of training focused on leadership, how to accelerate their organizations, how to develop their stories, and connecting them to networks, including an alumni community where they have access to ongoing supports and opportunities. So I'm really pleased to be welcoming 7 of those today to tell their stories. And first up, we're going to have Madeline Holland. She works with Talent Beyond Boundaries, and I've asked everyone to share something about themselves that might surprise the audience. So for Madeline, it's that her maternal grandparents were actually refugees themselves to the US.
I'm Madeline Holland, Deputy Executive Director of Talent Beyond Boundaries, and we are making it possible for refugees to move on the basis of their skills to rebuild their lives. I'm going to be headed from here to Jordan and Lebanon, which is where we really got started. And about this time last year, I was sitting with a young guy about my age. His name was Boniface, and he had trained and worked as a nurse before it had become impossible to stay home due to violence. And he was now living as a refugee in a country where it was illegal for him to work, so he was really scraping by a living working at a car wash, and he showed me his hands so that I would see the blisters and how tapped they were. And we were doing our usual interview, and I was asking him about his work experience and his education and his language abilities. And we got to the end of the interview, and he said to me, "This is the first time in 4 years that anybody has asked me about what I can do." And he said, "Sometimes I see people from home who are also here, and I hide. I crouch behind the car because I don't want them to see me, and I don't want them to see what's become of me, because when I was in training, when I was working, when I was in school, I really thought I was going to be somebody." There are more than 25 million refugees in the world. That's bigger than the population of Australia. And that number is only growing. Just think how we'll see that number grow in the years to come with violence and climate change and conflict uprooting people from their lives. And think about the risks that you have seen people take because they couldn't find a legal route to safety and opportunity. And think that there are millions of people like Boniface who have skills that are desperately needed around the world, but who are stuck in countries where they cannot work and they cannot rebuild their lives. Just think of the sheer waste of human potential, and think of what that would do to your spirit. I was drawn to this work in part because my family turns to work the way I imagine some families turn to religion. My grandfather worked until he was 92, literally a few days before he died. He would be there walking to his office, pausing every 5 to 6 steps so he could catch his breath, but he just couldn't stop because he loved it. And I, watching this growing up, internalized that, doing work that you love, work that you trained for, work that is serving others, could give a real shape and a weight to life. Talent Beyond Boundaries is making the skills and the work experiences of refugees visible to international employers who for the first time can recruit from this once hidden talent pool. And we are collaborating with governments to identify and overcome the barriers that have historically made it very difficult for refugees to move on the basis of their skills, even when those skills are in demand. I'm coming here from Australia, where our candidates have touched down into companies and communities that need them, and where they can work till 92, if they are so inclined. I know that's not for everybody. think of what would be possible if we had a system to manage refugees that took meaningful account of what refugees have to offer. This work is not easy. I will be the first to admit that it is not easy. Boniface has still not moved. There is so much work to be done. But the last thing that he said to me before the interview finished was, even you asking me about what I can do makes me feel like a human being again. That is far from enough, but it's a good place to start. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for sharing your story. So after each story, I'm going to ask one question, and at the end, we'll bring up all of the leaders for questions from the audience. So keep your questions till then. So obviously, globally, we've been seeing a lot of increasing negative rhetoric and closing borders for refugees. So you personally or your organization, what do you think is the best way to combat that?
It's an important question, and it's true. I mean, humanitarian resettlement spots, which are the traditional solution for refugees, the way that a small number of people selected on the basis of their vulnerability can move around the world, have declined by 40% in the last year alone. And I'm sure you all can guess why. What we're doing that's a bit different is allowing the private sector to play a role in this. Hundreds of millions of people move around the world every year on the basis of their skills. But typically refugees have not been able to partake in that due to things outside their control. Maybe their passports are invalid. Maybe they don't have bank accounts, and that's needed to prove that they're eligible for this particular visa program. So we are taking advantage of other existing migration routes, which countries are actually, many countries around the world are taking part in this global competition for talent. They're desperate to attract skilled people. We're helping shift the narrative that refugees are part of that population, that maybe we shouldn't be thinking about who's going to take on this burden and thinking instead about how can we compete to attract this talent.
Wonderful, thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right, so next up we have Ifrah Mohammed Arab of SuperMom, and something surprising about her is growing up, she wanted to be the Chief Justice of Kenya.
Can I have this? My name is Ifrah Mohammed Arab. I'm the founder of SuperMom. Women from my community in northeastern Kenya face a lot of challenges. Because of culture, among other things, women are not empowered to work, lack self-growth opportunities, and are part of a vicious cycle that is fully dependent on men. At the same time, last mile distribution is a key challenge for companies in reaching that last consumer from these same marginalized communities. Growing up, I remember I was fortunate enough to be among the few girls that were sent to school. In my culture, a girl was raised to be prepared to get married. And I had to work twice as hard to prove myself. I wanted to be the Chief Justice. I wanted to be, if it was playing football, I wanted to play football. I wanted to prove myself. And every other girl from my community and most other girls didn't have this opportunity. I remember I wanted to always do something about it. And over holidays, I used to help my mother in her shop, and she used to have customers from far and wide, and I'd help her in packaging and everything else. And there was this particular customer who used to come every month, at the end of every month, to come and buy goods. She used to have this donkey cart, and I think that's why she was my favorite customer. It was fun playing around with it. And I remember in 2015, I lost my mom. and the shop closed. And one day I met this woman, and catching up with her, I found out that she used to travel this long distances because the luxury that me and most of us in this room have of traveling 5 minutes to access a shop did not exist for her. That is when I came up with the solution of SuperMom. SuperMom taps into this initiative of unemployed women and turns them into a sales force that distributes this fast-moving consumer goods within their communities. We train them on basic entrepreneurial skills and then match them with products that they distribute from their homes or through a door-to-door distribution network within their communities. Now, this problem is not unique to my community. In my country and the entire world, billions of people, billions of women and communities are facing the same challenges. We currently have 50 women in our network. This is just even way less than an eighth. Imagine how much more work we have to do. I believe that if you empower one woman, you empower the entire community, the entire society. So please join me in replicating this model and supporting more communities and more women in getting a way of earning a living. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Ifrah. Thank you for sharing. So with SuperMom, you are benefiting communities in two ways. You're creating economic opportunities for the sellers, but you're also increasing access to products for the consumers. So I'm wondering if there have been any particular products or types of products that you've seen be really meaningful to people's lives.
So basically, the products that we deal with currently are mostly consumer goods. So from flour to sugar to oil to everything you get from a shop. But then the more products we deal in, the more demand increases. So every day we have new demands. So we'll bring jikos, or jikos are like cooking stoves. We'll bring solar panels and stuff like that. And I think starting from the basic consumer goods, you realize what more people need. So I think from the basic consumer goods to the most important ones.
Wonderful. Thank you. Great. So next up, we have Melissa Binney. She is from Cameroon, from Infiuss. And something surprising about her is that she has never passed a math test.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Melissa Bime. I'm from Cameroon, and I am the founder and CEO of Infiuss, which is an online blood bank management system and an emergency digital blood sourcing platform that connects hospitals that have blood banks and hospitals that don't have blood banks in Cameroon. 2 years ago, I was in my final year of nursing school, and during my final pediatric rotation, I had a patient. She was 5 years old. Her name was Rita, and she had been admitted into the hospital presenting with severe anemia after a bout with malaria. The hospital in which we were in at that time did not have a blood bank. And so Rita's mom was tasked with looking for donors to get the blood that she needed for her transfusion. And 2 days later, unfortunately, this child died. People die in the hospital, so that was a normal day. You'll be surprised at what we consider normal in our hospitals. Anyway, so a week later, however, we had transfer students that came in from another hospital. And when we were talking about this case, one of the students said, she was working at a hospital that was about 30 minutes away from where we were. And this hospital had a blood bank, and they had this blood that this child needed. And after that conversation, I began asking myself why hospitals insisted on working as individual entities instead of collaborating together to share the limited resources that they have to ensure better patient outcomes. And it was While I was asking myself these questions, I realized that in Cameroon, only about 72% of hospitals have blood banks, and patients have to depend on the blood banks of 28% of hospitals that can barely meet up to their own needs. And the majority of the people affected by this problem of the lack or the unavailability of blood is pregnant women suffering from complications such as postpartum hemorrhage, miscarriages, abortions, and children under the age of 5 suffering from anemia, as was in Rita's case. Infiuss sets out to solve this problem of the lack and the unavailability of blood by giving patients or healthcare practitioners the ability to make a request for the type and the quantity of blood which they need by phone call, SMS, or through our mobile application. We are then able to source this request on a digital database of the blood bank hospitals that we partner with and find which blood bank hospital is closer to the hospital that the patient is admitted in. We send out a medical dispatch team with motorcycles to pick up this blood from the nearest blood bank hospital and deliver it directly to the patient in the hospital in which they are admitted in. When I set out to become a nurse, I wanted to travel to the US and become a nurse and work and make a lot of money. But unfortunately, or fortunately for me, I found my purpose in someone else's tragedy. And, right now we've been able to work with over 23 hospitals in Yaoundé. We've delivered over 2,300 bags of blood, and now we're scaling into Côte d'Ivoire. Blood is the single most precious gift that you can ever give anyone. And we all have that gift. And the fact that a 5-year-old girl has to die because she does not have access to this gift, which we all possess, is what Infiuss is out to stop. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Great. So I'm wondering, what has your experience been like as a social entrepreneur in this massive, complicated system called the health sector?
Yeah, so the interesting thing that I've come to realize is in my country, Cameroon, as well as in a lot of sub-Saharan African countries, we don't have strong systems in place. When we presented this project to the Prime Minister of Cameroon, there was no law that was centered around what happens to blood or what exactly is supposed to be the guiding regulation. And because of this project, we were able to initiate this conversation, and we actually got the legislative arm of the government that sat and thought about this problem. So I think it's really interesting to know that you can bring in some of these difficult conversations or some of these conversations that nobody bothers to have. Ministers or whoever in Cameroon, they have the money to travel out of the country when they're sick. But in the country, people are dying. So if you want to solve a problem, it's really easy for you to be able to bring up these conversations that actually have the ability to create change and be able to set up the systems that work for you. So yeah.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Wonderful. So next up, we have Amessouwe Kuassi from Terre, Benin. And something you might be surprised to hear is that she first came to the UK 12 years ago with the BBC, and she arrived on April 7th. And this time, she came back and arrived on April 7th.
Hello, everyone. My name is Amessouwe Ines Kuassi. I am the CEO and founder of Terre, Benin in Benin, West Africa. I am a CEO today, but this is not what I dreamed of. When I was a child, I wanted to be a superstar, a singer, I'm a CEO today because I thought that I had a cancer. During the first quarter of 2017, I have lost 2 of my neighbors. They died of breast cancer. And I was psychologically affected. Then I started feeling some strange symptoms in my breast. People die of lack of knowledge. Years ago, a research on Weme River pollution has demonstrated that the main river in my country is polluted by chemicals. And they said, if you eat fresh fish soup, then you eat 100% of residues of pesticides. If you smoke the fish, you reduce of 40% the residues of pesticide. But if you fry them, then you reduce of 60% the residues of pesticide. So the best thing to do is to fry the fish, right? But in Grand Popo, this lovely city that I come from, our preferred meal is dakwen. We cook it with fresh fish soup. I have eaten it all my life long. I mean, I do love it. So I thought I was probably ill, just like my neighbors. In 2017, I had a master's degree in environmental issues and 13 years of experience in the media. So I decided to do something. I decided to give an answer to that lack of knowledge. I decided to help my community understand in simple words what science says. That's why in May 2017, I have created Terre, Benin. And in French, Terre just means in simple words. With our web TV, we cover international environmental conferences and summits, and we do investigative reports in our community to make the balance between what is going on in our community and what is the reality globally. 1 year after I started that job, I wanted to know the truth about my breast. I went to my gynecologist and he said, I think you are okay, but we should do the mammography. Darkness on a sunny day. You know, I was worrying, I was shaking, and we did the mammography, and guess what? The mammography reveals that my breasts are more than healthy. Woohoo! People die of lack of knowledge. So yes, here I am, Amessouwe Kuassi, CEO of Terre Benin, because it's time to make it possible in simple words. We are doing that job with 2 cameras, 2 microphones, and 2 computers. To achieve more, do you want to join us? Shake my hand. Shake my hand.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So what is the key message that you want to spread with your organization?
Helping my community understand climate change, environmental issues in simple words. When I wanted to come here for this forum, we were dealing with 35, 36 degrees in my country. You know, it was very hot. And it's scary for farmers. And what can be our, it may be seems simple, but last February we had our educational program also, and we have impacted 5,000 kids in 12 schools in Cotonou. And when we do things like that, we are very happy, and we know that it is important to educate. So what we do is to inform, educate, communicate, and engage people wherever environmental issues matter.
Wonderful. Thank you. Okay.
I think your name helps.
Oh.
Thank you.
Welcome. Okay, great. So next up we have Atinuke Lebile of CATO Foods. And an interesting fact about her is that she loves to cook and feed people, but herself, she doesn't like food. She only eats for sustenance.
Yeah, good afternoon. My name is Atinuke. My social entrepreneurship story started in a certain way. I volunteered for a friend's organization who is into girl child education, and we went into a community in the northern part of Nigeria to sensitize them about girl child education. But while in that community, I realized the children in those communities were looking so unhealthy. They were looking so ill and healed. And I realized those children were actually malnourished. We were in that community for just 1 week, and in the period of 1 week, we lost about 2 kids due to malnutrition. This saddened me a lot, that I had to go back and start doing a lot of research about malnutrition. And I realized that millions of children are malnourished in Africa, especially vitamin A micronutrient deficiency. And once these children have been deficient of this micronutrient before their 50th birthday, this tends to affect their brain development, their eyesight, and even their growth while growing. I realized that even this deficiency not only occurs in the rural areas, even in the urban areas, because I came from a country where we don't really pay attention to the quality of the food that we eat. We only pay attention to the quantity. We just want to get our tummy filled up without looking at the nutritional content of what we eat. So, in my quest to get a solution for this challenge, we started CATO Foods. In CATO Food, we cultivate and process vitamin A, cassava, and maize to address this challenge. And how do we come about this solution? Because we realized giving the student tablet or supplement for this challenge is something that is not sustainable because it's quite expensive. In a home where you have about 4 to 5 kids, with the parents earning less than $2 a day, is not sustainable. So we partner with a biotechnology company who are into using biotechnology to address malnutrition, and we told them to help us breed seeds that are very rich in micronutrients to improve life and health of people. So we got the seed and we multiplied the seed on the field. And we came out with an amazing outcome. Because at the end of the multiplication, the produce from this seed, we process them into foods like this. That gives children about 60% of our daily requirement of vitamin A. And snacks that are sugar-free and make the student healthy and bright in school. Now, after that, after the processing, we distributed this seed that we multiplied to farmers in the community, and so far we've reached about 5,000 farmers in Nigeria, and we have about 20 distributors of this product so far in Nigeria. We realized biofortification is actually a way to go to address malnutrition because it's cheaper, it is affordable, and it's accessible. And this is a clarion call to everyone in this room, that we have millions of children that are dying of malnutrition. We have 12 million of children in the IDP camps in the northeast part of Nigeria where I came from. 1 in 13 pregnant women die every day all because of this malnutrition. They need to get a life. We need to give them life. And we cannot afford to see children dying every day all because of malnutrition. Life needs to be given to them. And that is why at CATO Food, our vision is to see a country free of children dying of malnutrition. And that is why we've come on board to produce products that will address this and actually give them 60% of their daily requirement of vitamin A. Thank you.
Thank you. Wonderful. So thinking about Nigeria as a whole or the regions that you work in, what do you see as the key day-to-day challenges in terms of people meeting their nutritional needs?
Okay, one of the key challenges in meeting the nutrition is poverty. These things are not affordable and they're not so accessible. And that is why we have to look for an alternative way, a cheaper way than these things can be addressed. And that is why we came up with this product. And we moved into those communities to even give them to give them those food products. I remembered Ahmed, which was one of the child that we worked with, in that community where we first recognized our cause. Ahmed was 2 years old, and Ahmed was weighing less than 22 pounds. We had to take Ahmed and feed Ahmed our product for 3 months. And I can gladly tell you that Ahmed is 6 years old today, and is healthy and is doing very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Great. So next up, we have Blessing Mene, also from Nigeria, and he is with Vetsark Limited. And something that might surprise you about Blessing is that he always wanted to be a doctor, but he actually dropped out of medical school to become a social entrepreneur.
Meet Margaru, a farmer who had 200 cattle, but lost 100 of them to a disease called contagious bovine pleuropneumonia. Meet Mary, a poultry farmer who had 5,000 chicken, but lost 3,000 of them to Marek's disease. My guru lost $50,000 worth of livestock to a disease that could have been prevented with just $40. Across Africa, my guru and Mary, they are not alone. In fact, according to the World Organization for Animal Health, every year, livestock farmers within the continent lose more than $2 billion to disease outbreaks on their farms. This is a very serious problem. And the reason they lose their livestock is simply because of unpreparedness and a lack of information to take decisive action to prevent and manage such diseases within their farms. My company, Vetsark, solves this problem. We do that by collecting animal health data at the farm and clinical level, understanding that data, and using insights from that data to help farmers predict, prevent, and manage disease outbreaks on their farms. Recently, we worked with partners in Kogi State, Nigeria, to tackle an outbreak of contagious bovine pleuropneumonia, saving more than 1,000 farmers over $60 million worth of livestock. People ask me, Mene Blessing, why do you do what you do? And I tell them, it's because I am an agent of change. And I refuse to be an observer in the positive development of the African continent. Today, or 15 years ago, I always wanted to be a doctor. And so while I was in medical school, someone invited me for a meeting, an event. And in that meeting, I heard words that would change the direction of my life forever. The speaker said things like, why many of us were thinking about how to get good, high-paying jobs, we must now begin to think about how to create good, high-paying jobs for other people. And while we are concerned about how to wear good-looking clothes, we must now begin to think about how to make and distribute good-looking clothes to other people. So I left that meeting thinking to myself, oh my God, becoming an entrepreneur is going to be the best use of my time and life. And so 1 month later, I called my dad and my mom and told them I wanted to leave medical school, vets medical school. And they refused, of course. But after 1 year of persuasion, they eventually allowed me to study chemistry and practice entrepreneurship. And so today, why I might not be a veterinary doctor, I lead an organization that supports veterinary doctors and livestock farmers in Nigeria. Today, I am an expert in livestock nutrition because I've developed alternative ingredients for making fish feed using water hyacinth and insects. Today, I have inspired thousands of youths in the African continent to start and grow their own businesses. Today, I am an agent of change, and I am no longer an observer of the positive development happening in Africa. Join me, help Africa prosper. Thank you.
Thank you. So you have furthered a number of innovations in the agricultural sector. So I was just wondering, what is your process when you think about innovations in agriculture? Where does one start?
I would say there are three key things. The first is an obsession with the problem you're trying to solve. And that would mean being a part of the community and getting involved in the process. And with that, you'll be able to see the actual needs of the farmers. Like, you'll be able to see that livestock farmers in Nigeria do not necessarily need loans but they would prefer to get access to inputs that they can pay for themselves, like they need good payment plan, right? And then the second thing is to develop an early path to revenue generation, like when you decide to launch any innovation, you know. And the reason for that is because it forces you and constrains you to see what the farmers are going to be willing to pay for and what is actually going to be useful, you know, when you decide to scale up your innovation and all that. So, and then I think finally you need some form of flywheel effect, like some flywheel momentum. Momentum is like everything. So when you hit, you help one farmer, you move to the next. Like you just keep making progress. Don't say you want to reach 1 million farmers within 1 year, and then just because you don't have the resources to implement that plan, you don't get anything done. So for us, for example, when there was disease outbreak of CBPP in Kogi State, we led the entire project. Like we went to the government, we went to the federal ministry, we collected vaccines from the government, we collected vaccines, and then mobilized veterinarians within that region in Abuja and Kogi to vaccinate. We vaccinated more than 120,000 cattle. You know, so and then we were able to see this huge impact for very little amount of money. Right, so if you're able to, you're extremely obsessed with the problem you're trying to solve, early path to revenue generation, and you have some form of strong flywheel momentum, then I think that would be a good start.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Great. So last but not least, we have Edith Violet Naisubi, and she is with AgriSan. Something unusual about her is that she didn't have a birth certificate until she was 16 because she was born in her mother's room with just her and her mom, and no one joined them until she was wrapped up in her blanket.
Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. I'm Edith from eastern part of Uganda, to be specific, Palisa district. For me, my family background and the experiences I've encountered have inspired me to do what I'm doing right now. I lost my mother at the age of 7, and she was the breadwinner of the family. Because the community I'm coming from, women engage in a lot of activities like crop growing so they can provide for their families. After my mom passing on, the responsibility of providing for us shifted to our elder sister who had just graduated from teaching college. As a fresh graduate, she struggled to provide for us the basic needs, food, and anything that we needed to grow. This is not only unique to me. A lot of women, a lot of people in my society are struggling to make ends meet, yet they don't have the resources, they don't have the skills, they don't have the capability to do this. How can we empower these people so they can be able to provide for their families? Fast forward, I've been very lucky. At every point of my life, I've had either a relative, a stranger, an organization helping me get through. And currently, I'm under the MasterCard Foundation Scholarship, studying at Amessouwe University. And at Amessouwe, we are challenged to think about problems affecting our societies and come up with solutions. With this, I felt I could do something for these breadwinners in my community who are struggling day in and day out to provide for their families. I came up with AgriSan so that these women are provided with resources like land, seeds, so they can collectively come together and grow vegetables that they will be used as a source of income and food. And yet, we don't only focus on vegetable growing, we train these women on other things like saving, family planning, menstrual health, among others. I believe if we empower these women, if we provide for them resources that they can use to do this, we are helping everyone. Just like the previous speakers, I'll also ask you to join me in this cause in helping these women. Hillary Clinton once said, "When we support women in society, everyone will benefit. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So thinking about the bigger scale, Uganda more broadly, what do you see as the key opportunities for women to engage in agriculture profitably?
Thank you. For me, I think commercial farming would be more profitable because with commercial farming, you're able to grow on large scale and sell for profits. We are lucky as Ugandans, we have one of the fertile soils. So if we can provide resources for these women, we can bring them closer, I think they will engage in it and they'll be able to profit from it.
Okay, wonderful, thank you. Great, thanks to all the speakers. We're now gonna get everyone back on the stage in the order you spoke, and we're gonna do some questions. Okay, so before we open it up, one question from me. So you're here at the Skoll World Forum, quite a spectacular crowd. So if you had one thing that you need from this audience, the Skoll community, or the broader ecosystem to really grow and accelerate your organization, what would that one thing be? Oh, why don't we start over there? Yeah.
I could start. For me, I think it's partnerships because there are a lot of organizations here helping women and also women in agriculture in other ways. So if we could come together and work to reach wider groups, because right now we are only in one district. If we could expand to other rural women who are really struggling to make ends meet, it will really be grateful.
So for me, I kind of believe that the problem we're tackling is a very important problem that a lot of people are not paying attention to. So for me, success would mean having an advisor who is skilled with strategy that could really help us think through our work, our communication, our model, and help us set us on the right course, because we currently don't have that. So getting that from this would be like big success for us.
Okay, for me, I'll also require partnership and awareness to create awareness about those products, because millions of children are deficient of micronutrients in Nigeria and even in Africa. So we need to create more awareness about this, and we need to promote what we have to reach more kids. Thank you.
Thank you. We are talking about how to accelerate possibility at this forum this year. So we need a strong network to support our work. As I told you, we used to cover international conferences and summits. So if you are here as institution or entrepreneurs, my wish is to say, okay, I went here, I met you, and now you know that about environmental issues, you have Terre Benin as partner, media partner in Benin. Thank you.
Yeah, so we're also looking for partnerships, but not just like any partnerships. We need like very strategic and specific partnerships, because for me, we've been really able to see like the importance of having people that have a more loud and audible voice than you, and we've seen how much impact that can make to like an organization or something, because it's hard for people to take you seriously. You're a young Black woman, you know, but when you have people that are more credible, stronger, have more money, a lot of people listen to them better. So yeah, we're looking for like really strategic partnerships that can help us.
Personally, I think number one, awareness. Please spread the work that we're doing. Support us as the older people, as everybody else, especially young people. It's not an easy task, especially walking up to companies. I deal with companies that manufacture goods. Walking up to them and telling them, I'll get your goods here. You know, I have the traction, I have everything. I've had places where I've been told, you're young, move along. But I know the problems that my community faces. So support, and then funding, mostly. We have a really sustainable model that, profits, we invest again and it works for us. But then training of these women, at the beginning, they don't have any way of earning an income. We do a lot of research in these areas and a lot of education. And we'd love to if we were funded in these areas because we don't want to charge the women that we work with. Yeah, thank you.
One area to support would be if you are involved with a company, have connections to companies. We work with a pool of over 11,000 people who have over 200, a range of 200 plus professions, sort of any profession under the sun. If you are affiliated with a company that's interested in international hiring, consider us a resource.
Wonderful, thank you. All right, now we'll open it up to the audience. Please wait for the microphone.
Yeah, sure. Good morning everyone. Thank you for sharing your powerful and so inspiring stories. I'm Marcel, I'm from Brazil, I'm a social entrepreneur, and I don't believe in coincidence, I believe in synchronicity. Exactly 5 years ago, I was in the first cohort of the Young Leaders Initiative. April 11, exactly, same date. Exactly, it's synchronicity total. I have a quick note and a question for those who feel the calling. The quick note is how important this program is. So I truly encourage Skoll and MasterCard to keep it up. I think it's really important. Connecting the dots 5 years ago, I truly see how powerful this program is and how important it is to my journey. So count on me on this journey, right? The question is, being part of this program is such a privilege. And Spider-Man said, great powers come with great responsibilities, right? So considering this whole week, what do you take as the thing that you are most privileged for, the thing that you are most grateful for, and what is the thing that you are taking as your main responsibility back home?
For me, and I've shared this with many of the others in the cohort, sometimes you reach the goal that you've been, 2.5 years heading for this finish line, and you get there and you realize this was not a finish line. This was the starting point. And that can be deflating. And so for me, the greatest privilege of being here, what I'm most grateful for, and I want to take back to the rest of my team, is definitely this reminder that that's normal, that there are many starts and finishes, and maybe it's a little more circular than you envision when you are young and thinking it's going to be just on the up and up.
What I've learned, what I appreciate this forum for the most is meeting everybody I've met, everyone who's attended this forum, everyone who works on social entrepreneurship. It kind of makes my work easier because it makes me feel a lot better that there are other people who are also doing the same course in other areas, other people who are trying to better the world. It makes me not feel alone. And it's been really inspiring. And what I take is, it's fueled me more. I can't wait to go back home and keep at it.
For me, I arrived at the forum late. I came later than everybody else. So when I got into the room the first day, I was really lost. Like, I didn't know what was happening. And I was listening to all these amazing people. And I was just feeling really sorry for myself. But later we had like this session where we got to know each other a lot more, and we just were able to like talk about our businesses and our personal lives and our families. And I realized, we all have really interesting stories, but this is messy. Like, we all standing here and saying how amazing it is and like the amazing things we're doing, but it's really messy. You have no idea. So it's really just, for me, it has really been encouraging to just know that I shouldn't feel sorry for myself. Like, we should not feel sorry for ourselves.
Sonia, she's our fellow. She wanted to stop. She wanted to give up. And coming here, she has now the strength to continue. That inspires me. And as she said, this cohort is just amazing. And being here, as I said, to accelerate possibility, that's a lot. Thank you.
So mine is consistency and not giving up. Because with consistency, you being consistent at what you do, you definitely get there. No matter the challenges you meet on your way, no matter the obstacles, because I have learned from those people and from even the people I have met that we all have our challenges at every phase of our businesses or at every phase of our lives. But these things should not just keep us down. These things should encourage us to do more and touch more lives.
For me, I think I would say it's kindness. Kindness. I don't know if she's here, Jean. She was one of the first people. I missed my first flight coming down here. And she was just on point, helping me out. I stayed in the airport for almost an additional 6 hours. And I came in, everything was wonderful. She was there at the hotel to welcome us. I'm thankful to Jean, I'm thankful to Erin. And I think we've met a lot of great people, like the Soul Pancake team. I learned so much from them, and also from Whitney. Thank you very much. Whitney did a very thank you so much. Mulago Foundation also, I was at your session yesterday. It was really, really good. Those of us who attended, we're like, man, this was really good, And Jean, thank you so much for talking to all of us and helping us sharpen ourselves for today. So I think the network, these people, they're all my friends for life, and I'm really, really very grateful and thankful for the additional people we're all going to meet in this room. Thank you.
Also me, it's the network, and I've realized there's support out here. Everyone you talk to, they're like, okay, not after the forum, you can reach out to me and get advice. So it has made me feel like I'm on the right track, and I have the right people who are going to be advising me and mentoring me throughout my journey.
Thank you. Another question from the audience?
Hi, I'm Amos Odero from MasterCard Foundation. I think I really appreciate that you said this is messy, and I think the truth is, on the ground, a lot of things are not, nicely connected and straight lines. It's a beautiful mess, and I appreciate all of you making sense out of this mess and articulating it to us in a sense that's not messy, So, so some of the conversations, as Adonna, that we have with some of the private sector players that are trying to connect these women to all these supply chains. Everybody wants a finished product, but nobody wants to put in the work. So I think I had a question for Ifrah, Naisubi, and the rest of the group. What can we do? How can we structure partnerships that prepare these women who are being connected to the fast-moving consumer goods supply chains, these women who are connecting to agribusinesses? How can we prepare them to be ready for connections to these big organizations? But how can you also structure partnerships between you leaders and these organizations that are not extractive, but are beneficial for both ends of the bargain? Because at the end of the day, we want these women to thrive, these families to thrive, but the big companies are saying they're not ready, but you are ready with them. How can you structure that to work for everybody?
So you've just highlighted everything. We have the women, they're facing the problem, but then there's no connection. Honestly, first of all, belief, maybe, and then support in terms of training. We do informal training. Personally, at SuperMom, our team, we do the most informal training. We walk with our team, we go to these areas and teach these women what we know. But then we think that if we had support, we'd be able to teach them more structured things. We'd have more knowledge to share. So we're doing, I think, much with the informal training that we're giving them. So imagine if we actually had support for the training that we give them. It would be amazing. We do research before we go into these areas. Most of the areas we work with are really marginalized. So if from poor infrastructure to lack of communication, we've been struggling with trying to monitor from the city to these areas, like trying to monitor how the women are doing, how the products are faring. And I think with support from big companies that are already structured, I think would have done so much more work. It would have been more valuable. What was your second part?
How can you structure those partnerships? I think you've touched on it. Now, whether that's beneficial to everybody in the chain.
Yeah, I think that would work much better. It would be more advantageous for us.
Thanks.
Do you want to say something?
Okay. Okay, another question.
Sure. Namaste, good afternoon. I'm Megan Falone and I run the Barefoot College. And we are a Skoll awardee from 2007, I think. I think, first of all, it's so impressive and humbling to be in a room with so many women on the stage. And also to see such bright, innovative, and incredibly forward-thinking kinds of work being done. Certainly, I'm sure that you have assumed already that we're on a mailing list, which you now have access to, all of us, nearly 200 Skoll awardees, and you should never feel that you cannot email directly any one of us, because every single one of my fellow Skoll awardees would stop what they're doing, take time, connect you, help you, listen to you. It's been messy for us for 47 years. So we're good at coping with messy stuff. And please feel that we are also now your network, and to reach out into that network and not be shy. We are really so energized to see the next generation of people tackling the next set of things. We have lots to learn from you. And for you, I have a toolkit to train your women. And we'd be happy to give it to you.
Other questions? No? Going once, going twice? Okay, great. Well, thank you everyone for coming. Thank you so much to the Emerging Leaders Initiative team. You guys have done so much great work. Thank you to our leaders today and yesterday's group. And I'm going to let Whitney close. So.
Stay there. Stay there.
Oh,
Stay there.
okay.
Oh, sorry. Could I have the rest of you? Where are you? Come on. Stand up. Come up. I've been counting them all week. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Again and again. There's 14. My name is Whitney Smith. I've had the incredible privilege for the last 4 years, before the year after Marcel's year, to help facilitate this gathering. And I'm lucky enough to have 55 of these people in my phone and on Facebook that I can email and talk to, and that I get to continue to be part of their lives. So thank you to Skoll, thank you to MasterCard for having the vision to know that if we're going to change the world, we need to lift the next generation of social entrepreneurs all over our world. And this is a very effective way of doing that. So I'd just like to give them another huge round of applause. And please talk to them right now.
Yeah.
Ask them questions, hard questions. And if you have resources, please give them your card and connect them. So thank you. Thank you so much, Ariane.